This is a man who has never lost a trial in his life. He is widely referred to as America's attorney. This is somebody who, when he walks into a courtroom, judges nod in deference, and opposing attorneys look at their clients and just tell them, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal, take the deal. This guy never loses. He, of course, is our good friend, Jeremy Rosenthal. And Jeremy, how are you on this glorious Saturday? I can't see Trump taking what Indira Talwani and John J. McConnell did and appealing to the Supreme Court on this. Can you?
It may be a little bit of throw me in the briar patch, right? And so you're seeing, look, the government shutdown here. Every politician in Washington is hitting reload on their browser to see what the polls are saying, who's getting blamed for this, right? And look, I don't know if the shutdown has affected you. I don't know if it's really affected me. I took a trip last weekend. I sat on the runway for what I thought was a long time. In my mind, I'm wondering if that's because the air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. But look, I mean, if you're in federal court, you're noticing that things are winding to a halt. If you are the beneficiary of a federal program, then you're probably noticing that things are winding to a halt. If your spouse works for the Social Security Administration, then you're noticing things are grinding to a halt. And the longer and longer this drags out, the more and more people will begin to notice, right? And that's where the political blame is really sort of taking shape. So yes, it's a bad look to not feed 42 million people, children and elderly people, and underprivileged and mentally handicapped and mentally ill and anything and everything. So I think everybody wants to get them fed. Nobody wants to take the blame for not feeding them, right? The Democrats don't want to get blamed for shutting down the government and ending this thing. And Trump doesn't want to get blamed for, by taking this thing all the way up to the Supreme Court to make sure that people can't eat. Everybody recognizes that this program is a bit of a hostage.
But I think the last thing anybody wants is to have federal judges just banging the gavel and issuing decrees for the entire country to follow when their lane is Rhode Island. I think that's my problem.
Right. And we've talked about this before, Ken. Being a judge, there's no way to get a judge that's not a political function, right? There's just no way to find somebody anywhere that's not elected or appointed or somehow put in their position by something that's not political in some way. Not the Supreme Court, not the county court at law in Collin County, Texas. There's just no way to have that work that's not going to be political. It's just a side of it. And when we kind of talk about, again, kind of going back to what you were saying about the shutdown, this is what we're doing is we're controlling the bleeding, right? And as we're going to see more and more and more of these things, as certain pools of money dry up, as certain pools of needy people have their head on the chopping block, right? In this instance, it's the SNAP funds. So as this thing goes on and on and on, everybody's bleeding out, right? And the politicians will, I think, come together when they see that, okay, now it's going to hurt me. When the Democrats look at this, or the Republicans look at this and say, okay, we're taking the blame for this. The Democrats are gambling that healthcare costs and prices, if those begin to make people hurt, they're gambling that they're going to blame the Republicans. Obviously, Donald Trump, to your point at the beginning of our conversation, he's kind of hoping that people see it his way. That look, it's the Democrats that are taking this program hostage, not me. And so as this thing sort of goes on and the bloodletting continues, at some point, you would think that the politicians are going to say, okay, you do that and you do that. And then here we go, and we're going to get this thing cranked up again. So this is Exhibit 7, right? This SNAP thing. We've already been through it with the federal employees, where we've already been through it in several different sectors. So yeah, this is just sort of how this goes. And if you're the Democrats right now, you don't have either house of Congress. What you got are the courts. So that's where you're going to go.
Yeah, well, you got the usual suspects sitting behind the bench. Now, this beauty on the U.S. District Court, I guess in D.C., she, by the name of Judge Colin Kohler-Catelli, we remember her from the immigration situation. Trump wants voter registration. You have to show an ID when you vote. What a concept! You got to do that when you get on an airplane. Why wouldn't you want to do that if you want election integrity? But she said no, that's not right, and he doesn't have the right to issue that kind of executive order that would require voter ID. This one, I think, does go to the Supreme Court. I don't think the other one does. I think that everybody is in agreement that these 42 million people somehow, some way, need to get their federal assistance for food. But I think the other judge, this Colin Kohler-Catelli, her edict this week, I think this is going to the Supreme Court. Do you agree?
It could. These executive orders certainly are more broad-reaching, and they bring up novel issues that we've not really confronted anymore. Not the least of which is what's the extent? What is the extent of an executive order, and where does that thing really live in our laws? It's not a statute, right? And it's not necessarily a court order or anything like that. And so executive authority has certainly been the hottest topic, I would say, of 2025 as far as the courts are concerned. So this is going to be probably yet another test of that. It's interesting, too, because and a lot of issues, not only the executive's authority, but we've also had a lot of issues that deal with federal sovereignty versus state sovereignty. Elections are something that the states have typically exercised control over. The feds can kind of come in and watch, but states typically are able to conduct elections in the way that they want. They have, just by way of example, I watched something the other day about ranked choice voting in Alaska, and that thing I'd have to read that 7 times to make sure I didn't screw up my ballot, because you get to do a first choice and a second choice and a third choice, and then they put it in the computer, and then here's your winner. And sure, okay, if you say so. There's certainly novel issues, and I think you're probably right. For no other reason than again, kind of going back to the very beginning of our talk, Trump losing at this level is probably a little bit of throw me into the briar patch.
Exactly. And by the way, no matter how many times you screw up rank voting in Alaska, you still wind up with Lisa Murkowski. Jeremy Rosenthal, it's great to have you on a weekend where I know you're working, probably on a Murder One case or something right now. So I appreciate your time. You are America's attorney, and it's great to talk to you again. You have a great rest of the weekend, Jeremy. We'll be in touch.
Go Red Raiders. We're going to be in the Big 12 championship. We'll see if the Bearcats can make it or not.
All right, already drinking at this hour.